The afternoon sun poured through the towering glass windows of the Grand Crescent Hotel, casting long golden reflections across the polished marble floor. Luxury cars lined the entrance, reporters waited behind velvet ropes, and security officers quietly monitored every corner. Inside, employees moved with unusual urgency. Everyone knew that one of the wealthiest businessmen in the Middle East was staying at the hotel for only a few hours, and every detail had to be perfect. Ethan Carter barely noticed the excitement. At 34, he had learned that no amount of glamour could make bills disappear. As the hotel's maintenance technician, he spent his days fixing broken elevators, repairing air conditioners, and solving problems no one else wanted to deal with. His work uniform was faded from years of washing, and his hands carried the marks of honest labor. Since losing his wife, Layla, 4 years earlier, Ethan's world revolved around one person, his 6-year-old son, Adam. Every afternoon after school, Adam waited quietly in the hotel lobby until Ethan finished his shift. The staff adored the cheerful little boy because he never complained. Instead of playing games on a tablet, Adam usually sat with a children's book or practiced writing Arabic words in a small notebook that had belonged to his mother. "Almost done, buddy," Ethan said with a tired smile as he walked past the lobby carrying his toolbox. Adam looked up and grinned. "Okay, Dad, I'll keep practicing." Ethan smiled back. Layla had always dreamed that their son would grow up speaking both English and Arabic. Even after her passing, Ethan honored that dream. Every night they listened to recordings she had made before her illness, repeating simple Arabic phrases together. Ethan wasn't fluent, but Adam had an incredible ear for languages and remembered nearly everything his mother had taught him. Across the lobby, hotel employees suddenly straightened their uniforms. "He's coming," someone whispered. The atmosphere changed instantly. A convoy of security guards entered first, scanning every corner. Behind them walked Sheikh Omar al-Rashid, an internationally respected billionaire whose investments had transformed cities across the world. His reputation was legendary, not only for his immense fortune but also for demanding excellence from everyone around him. Normally calm and composed, Sheikh Omar looked visibly furious. His jaw was clenched, his eyes burned with disappointment, and he spoke sharply into his phone in Arabic. "No," he said firmly. "The meeting is over. Cancel everything. We're leaving immediately." Executives hurried after him, desperately trying to explain that the failed agreement could still be saved. "Sir, perhaps if we..." "I said we're leaving." His voice echoed through the enormous lobby. Silence followed. Employees lowered their eyes, afraid to even breathe. The hotel manager rushed toward the entrance, apologizing repeatedly although none of the problem had been the hotel's fault. Ethan quietly stepped aside with his toolbox, making room for the security team. He leaned toward Adam and whispered, "Stay close to your chair, okay?" Adam nodded obediently. As Sheikh Omar strode toward the revolving doors, his anger seemed to fill the entire room. No one dared speak to him. But Adam watched him carefully. The little boy noticed something the adults missed. Beneath the expensive suit and powerful presence was a man carrying deep sadness. Adam remembered something his mother had often told him. When someone is shouting, listen for the pain hiding underneath. Without thinking about how important the man was, Adam gently stood from his chair. He took one small step forward, his notebook still in his hands. In a clear, respectful voice, he called out in flawless Arabic, "Sir, my father says that an angry heart cannot hear the truth. Please don't leave before listening." The words floated through the silent lobby. Every conversation stopped. The security guards froze. The executives stared in disbelief. Even Ethan dropped the wrench he had been holding. Sheikh Omar stopped walking. 1 foot remained inches from the hotel entrance as complete silence settled over the room. Slowly, very slowly, the billionaire turned around. Sheikh Omar stood perfectly still, his eyes fixed on the small boy who had just spoken to him in flawless Arabic. For several long seconds, no one in the hotel dared to move. The billionaire's security team instinctively stepped closer, unsure whether to escort him outside or wait for his next command. Instead of leaving, Sheikh Omar slowly walked back toward Adam. His expression, once filled with anger, had softened into curiosity. When he reached the little boy, he lowered himself to one knee so they were face to face. "In whose home did you learn to speak Arabic like that?" he asked gently in Arabic. Adam smiled shyly. "My mama taught me before she went to heaven. She said language is more than words, it is love, respect, and remembering where you come from." The answer struck Sheikh Omar like a wave. He glanced at Ethan, who hurried over, looking embarrassed. "I'm so sorry, sir," Ethan said. "He didn't mean to interrupt you." He's just very kind. Sheikh Omar raised a hand, stopping him. There is nothing to apologize for. He looked back at Adam. What is your name, young man? Adam Carter. And how old are you? I'm 6. The billionaire smiled for the first time that day. You speak with wisdom that many adults never learn. Several executives watched from a distance, whispering among themselves. Only minutes earlier, they had expected Sheikh Omar to storm out of the hotel forever. Now he was calmly talking with a little boy as though the billion-dollar meeting no longer mattered. Sheikh Omar noticed the worn notebook in Adam's hands. May I see it? Adam handed it over without hesitation. Inside were pages filled with carefully written Arabic letters, simple phrases, and small drawings. Some pages contained notes written in a woman's handwriting. Beside one lesson was a sentence translated into English. Kindness is the richest language because everyone understands it. Sheikh Omar gently traced the handwriting with his fingertips. Your mother wrote these? Adam nodded. She made lessons for me when she was sick. Dad and I still practice every night. Ethan looked down, his voice quiet. I promised my wife I wouldn't let Adam forget her culture. For a moment, Sheikh Omar said nothing. The lobby around them faded into the background as memories returned. His own childhood, evenings spent learning Arabic poetry from his grandmother, and the family members he had lost over the years while building a global business empire. Success had brought him wealth beyond imagination, but it had also stolen countless moments with the people he loved. Looking at Ethan and Adam together reminded him of what money could never replace. What happened to your mother? He asked softly. She got very sick, Adam answered honestly. Before she died, she told me that whenever I meet someone who looks lonely, I should speak with kindness first. Those simple words reached deeper than any business negotiation ever had. Sheikh Omar slowly stood and turned toward his waiting executives. One of them cautiously asked, Sir, should we prepare the cars for the airport? The billionaire looked back at Adam before answering. No, his voice was calm but firm. My flight can wait. The executives exchanged stunned glances. For the first time in years, Sheikh Omar was postponing an international schedule, not because of money, politics, or business, but because a 6-year-old boy had reminded him of a promise every human heart should keep. Then he turned to Ethan with a warm smile. If you and your son are willing, I would be honored to share a meal with your family. I believe this meeting is far more important than the one I came here for. Ethan stood speechless, unable to believe what he had just heard. Adam simply smiled, took his father's hand, and whispered, See, Dad. Mom was right. Kind words really do change people. That evening, instead of boarding his private jet, Sheikh Omar sat in a quiet dining room overlooking the city with Ethan and Adam. There were no television cameras, no reporters, and no business executives crowding around the table. For the first time in years, he enjoyed a simple meal without discussing contracts or investments. Adam happily shared stories about school, his favorite books, and the Arabic phrases his mother had taught him. Every few minutes, Sheikh Omar laughed warmly, surprised by the boy's innocence and wisdom. Ethan watched in amazement. Earlier that day, he had expected nothing more than another exhausting shift at work. Now he was sharing dinner with one of the world's most influential billionaires. After dessert, Sheikh Omar reached into his wallet and carefully removed an old, faded photograph. This, he said softly, is a picture from more than 20 years ago. The photograph showed a much younger Sheikh Omar standing beside a Jordanian doctor and his family during a humanitarian mission. My life was in danger after a terrible accident, he explained. Many people walked away because they feared the situation. But one man stayed. He treated me without asking who I was or whether I could repay him. Adam leaned forward. Who was he? Sheikh Omar looked at Ethan before answering. His name was Dr. Hassan al-Khatib. Ethan's eyes widened. That was my wife's father. For a moment, no one spoke. Sheikh Omar slowly nodded. I searched for his family for years to thank them, but I never found them. Today, because of your son, God brought us together. Tears filled Ethan's eyes as he remembered the stories his late wife had told him about her father's kindness and compassion. The following week, Sheikh Omar held a major press conference. Journalists expected him to announce a billion-dollar investment project. Instead, he introduced something completely unexpected. He announced the creation of the Layla Foundation, named in honor of Adam's late mother. The foundation would provide scholarships for children from single-parent families, support language education, and fund humanitarian medical missions across the Middle East and beyond. Standing beside Sheikh Omar, Ethan felt overwhelmed as cameras flashed across the room. Then the billionaire surprised everyone once again. Ethan Carter, he announced, has spent years serving others with honesty, humility, and quiet strength. I would be honored if he would become the executive director of this foundation. The audience erupted into applause. Ethan shook his head in disbelief. I don't have experience leading a foundation, he admitted. Sheikh Omar smiled. Leadership begins with character, not a title. Your son learned compassion by watching you. That tells me everything I need to know. Months later, the foundation opened its first community learning center. Children from many different backgrounds laughed together as they learned new languages, shared meals, and celebrated each other's cultures. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Adam stood beside Sheikh Omar, holding a pair of oversized scissors. Before cutting the ribbon, Sheikh Omar looked at the crowd and spoke in Arabic before repeating his words in English. A child reminded me that wealth is not measured by what we own, but by the kindness we leave behind. He placed a gentle hand on Adam's shoulder. If this remarkable young boy had remained silent that afternoon, I would have walked away carrying only anger. Instead, he gave me something far more valuable, a reason to remember the man I wanted to be. As the ribbon was cut and applause filled the air, Ethan looked up with tears in his eyes. He quietly whispered, "Layla, your voice still lives on through our son." And in that unforgettable moment, everyone understood that the greatest fortunes are not built with money, but with love, kindness, and the courage to speak from the heart.